Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beautiful plans are created in such a unique way, perfect, holy way, that they will not make sense to you on the surface. And will only make sense when either the answer is close or when Allah wants it to make sense for you. Why? Because your source of communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always lie in your heart. Not your brain, as we said, not your eyes, not any of these other external factor things. It's your heart. So let's go for an example. Who would be more loved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of these two servants? A servant. Both of them are undergoing a test, by the way. That is obviously part of Allah's plans, like everything else. But one of them, the plan actually makes sense on the surface. So there is some sort of logical reasoning that you can use to trust Allah, along with your heart, of course. And the other servant, the plan literally makes absolutely no sense. Nothing makes sense. It's all just chaos. The servant is so confused, doesn't know what to do, but still actually trusts Allah. Notice the key word, actually trust Allah. Just because you say you trust Allah does not mean you do. You need to show it. SubhanAllah. And the most difficult trust in showing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when things are not going well. Invisible good, as we said. But when they're going well, it's easier to trust Allah. That's why also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about thanking Him, He says, shukr fi sarra wa dharra, for the good and the bad. That's what makes a true grateful servant to those that just thank Him, but when things are going their way. So yeah. So the same works with trust, real trust. So obviously, the more beloved servant will be the one that has no reason in a way to trust Allah, but still does, and nothing makes sense. So their only reason for trusting Allah is what? Is it because the plan of Allah makes sense currently? Not at all. It's because of Allah's words in the Quran, or Allah's stories that He gave them in her role models, how things were not making sense for them as well on the surface. Again, as we said in our last video, don't look at the results. Put yourself as if you are them in that very moment. So don't think about the future. You don't know the future. You don't know the results. You don't know what Allah's going to do. You're basically them in that moment. Does anything make sense? No. When Allah, told Prophet Musa alayhi salam's mother, put your baby in the box, let him float upstream. And then He said what? لا تخافي إنا ردوه إليك. Do not worry. I will certainly return him to you safely. Right? Did Allah tell her, Prophet Musa's mother, so put yourself in her shoes right now, from her perspective. Did Allah tell her why He wants her to put Musa, as a baby by the way, to float upstream in the river and in a box? No, He's just told her, do it, and don't worry, I will return him to you safely. Did He say, so I want you to put him in the box to float upstream so that he gets picked up by Pharaoh and his wife? They notice that he could be of use to them, so they basically take him as their son in a way, try to force feed him. However, it doesn't work. The baby is refusing, mashallah, first of all, because the baby obviously doesn't know anything, literally just got born. But obviously it's a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on purpose, from His plan, remember? Doesn't want to lactate from any woman except his mother, so she came to see him every once in a while as a baby though. But when he grew up, and then he's going to fight Pharaoh, so he's talking to Prophet Musa's mother, as we said, and he's going to fight Pharaoh with a stick. It's going to turn to a snake, not a fake snake, like the magicians that he was fighting, and then he would be cornered by Pharaoh and his army because the magicians actually bowed down to Allah and repented for their actions. And now Pharaoh is so angry, he cornered them, and then the splitting of the sea, and then he grows up and he speaks to Allah, and Allah speaks to him with his voice, and then I'll return him to you safely. Is that what Allah said? Or did Allah literally just say absolutely nothing other than put your baby in the box, let him float upstream, don't worry, I'll return him to you safely? Exactly. Now think from Prophet Musa's mother's perspective. Try to make sense of any of it without knowing the results. Put yourself in her shoes. Try to make sense of any of it. See what I mean? Make sense. Why would Allah want me to put a baby? My baby, it was literally just born into a box. And in the river. What is waiting for him on the other side? And why is a baby? Okay, I guess for spiritual ascension, Allah wants him to be closer to him. That can make sense, but why is a baby? Why not when he grows up at least to somehow to start understanding some words, at least to start speaking? I barely got to see him. Why? Does anything make sense? Put yourself in her shoes. Would anything make sense to you? Why Allah would want any of this? No. And how is Allah going to reunite me with him as a baby? He might even not remember me that much. I guess he kept seeing me when I was lactating him, but he was still a baby. How is he going to find my way back to me though? All of this, does it make any sense to you? No. That's the point. So, what was the reason that his plans don't make sense to any of us and everyone and the role models? So your only reason for trusting Allah is your heart. Because in his words, لا يكلف نفسا إلا وسعها. I know my life is so difficult, but Allah promised, He said He would never burden a soul more than it can bear. So I'm not some exception. I have to be able to bear it, because He doesn't lie. What's happening in Palestine, Palestine, Gaza being burned, Israel's winning, all of this. That doesn't make any sense. Why is Allah letting this happen? Why is He letting them defeat them and then let the Palestinians at the end, because we all know they're going to defeat them, inshallah. But why is He letting them lose first? What's the point of that? How is this going to lead to their defeat at the end? How is this going to lead to their victory? But Allah did say in the Quran, وَلَا يَظْلِمْ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. Allah never wrongs anyone. So, no one can be wronged. They can only wrong themselves, but they cannot be wronged. So it must be part of Allah's plan, because they had no choice in this. But the children are getting burned. People are literally dying before even experiencing their life. Why? But what is Allah's holy name? Al-Wadud. He's the kindest, most gentle. So, it has to be, even though to our eyes they're getting burned, their death was so quick, they practically felt nothing. But it looks to us like they felt everything. What did Allah say about the shuhada? They're actually alive. They jump head first into Jannah. Subhanallah. That is trust. So put yourself in your role model's shoes. You will find literally every single one of them, not just the example I gave. If you put yourself in a perspective without knowing the results, nothing made sense in the beginning. When did it finally make sense? Either when the answer was close, or when Allah wanted it to make sense. See what I mean? That's why Allah does this, So your only choice in trusting him to really show your real trust is you don't have a reason for trusting him. SubhanAllah. I'll give one example about myself. So, as I said in my tests video, which you can watch, remember the grave incident? I didn't even know where she was buried, didn't even get the privilege of, oh, I don't know, visiting her funeral, to even bury her, right? But 2 years after her death, what did Allah do? I felt him very strongly in my heart. No brain, no eyes, just heart. That he gave me the permission to visit her grave, even though I don't know where the grave is. And when I asked one of my friends, what did they say? I'm not sure this is the correct location. In fact, they backtracked even more because they really weren't sure and said, I think this might not be the location. And when I spoke to the other friend, they said, what? When I was at the grave at this point, and the location. It's been years since I last visited her, so I don't know the location. See my point? Did I have a reason to trust Allah? As in like a logical reason? I had no logical reasoning at all. I don't know her grave. I don't know anything. I don't even know what her grave looks like, even if I am at the correct location. I don't know anything. But subhanAllah, what did I do? I trusted only one and only one thing. I know for a fact that was not some fluke out of my heart. It's been years, and I kept feeling that Allah does not want me to see her yet, or visit her grave. There has to be something. Suddenly I feel liberated, almost like, and I asked Allah to even confirm, Ya Allah, did you just give me permission to visit her grave? Wallah al-Azim, ask Allah. Ask him if you think I'm lying. Wallahi, subhanAllah. Did Allah not test me? Of course he did, subhanAllah. To see if I really do trust him. Everyone in the grave looked at me as I'm like a poor soul that's lost, circling almost the entire graveyard, trying to find her. Don't know what I'm even looking for. I just have 2 pictures as clues. And that was from an Instagram post that I saw. Can you imagine? And it's literally like a zoomed in picture of the post outside the gate of her grave. So it's not even that helpful. SubhanAllah. That's all I had. All I had to go off of. No logical reasoning, nothing. Just pure heart, trust in Allah. Until Allah decided to make it all make sense, right? At least for that. I'm suddenly called by my name because they were all trying to help me, and it was so embarrassing, obviously. Especially for my anxiety. And Allah knows that. But he still let my anxiety go to full display, subhanAllah. See what I mean? They told me, where were you? She's right there. And my heart screamed. Immediately all emotions just went out the window. The complete shock on my face. Really? And she was. SubhanAllah. You can watch my video about my tests, which is like an hour long. I'm sorry, I tried to summarize it as much as I can, wallahi. And these are tests that I'm still going through, by the way. SubhanAllah. So remember that Allah's plans are designed intentionally that way. They will not make sense to you. That's the point. Because he wants you to only trust him with your heart. And yeah, I know, extremely difficult. Yeah, but what word did I just hear in my ears? Extremely difficult. But I did not hear the word impossible. Therefore, don't say it is impossible. So the next time you try to make sense of something that is going for you, trying to make sense. Why did Allah do this? Ask Him and keep asking Him. Don't stop asking Him. But don't try to keep stressing yourself thinking about why He would do it instead of just keep asking Him. He will answer you when He wants it to make sense to you. But He will answer you, wallahi. But keep asking. Like I did. I kept asking. You don't think I did? Of course I did. And He answered me as you saw. SubhanAllah. And have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in Ramadan, by the way. The holy month, which is going by really fast. Talk to Allah as a friend. Not simply as a dua, but as a friend with dua. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said Himself, remember me and I will remember you. Askurni askurukum, right? Askuruni askurukum. So imagine you're talking to Him every day as a friend. That literally means you're not just taskuru, remembering Him. He's always in your mind. So that means you will always be in His mind. SubhanAllah. And remember, ma huwa al-ihsan. What is the way to truly worship Allah in the best way? تعبد الله كأنك تراه. Worship Allah as if you can see Him. That's ihsan. For if you can't see Him, know He sees you. See what I mean? SubhanAllah. How can you lose in life when Allah literally created that life and you're trusting the one that has control over everything in this life that you're tired of? Do you see what I mean? How can you lose then? The real loss is you forget the one who created this life that is difficult for you. That's the real loss. Your real life hasn't even begun yet. This isn't your real life. Your real life is waiting when Allah meets with you again. So who do you want to be when you meet Allah? A bad soul that'll meet the terrifying side of Him? Or a good soul that'll meet the gentlest, most loving, most merciful side of Him? Even Allah Himself literally said, if my servant wants to see me, I want to see them. So imagine you want to meet Allah, then He will want to meet you. SubhanAllah.